reduced vastly by the amount of screen time that they have, the eating habits that they have right now. So there's a lot of money that's being poured into this initiative in New Hampshire and nationwide by large foundations like the Kellogg Foundation, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, to try to mitigate some of the impacts of the screen time and the unhealthy eating practices. And so, you know, we've got increases. There are wonderful charts that I won't bore you with, but they show the increase in the last 10 to 15 years of obesity rates in our country, and they're off the charts, and it's a very sad thing. So we believe that transportation design and planning is really at the forefront of being able to lead the prevention of some of these obesity issues that we're facing. And then 40% of school-aged children are obese or overweight. Yikes. So let's change that together we can. This is a great slide. It has to do with trails. And when you think about transportation systems, it's important to think that there are a lot of different ways to get around a trail, a separate pathway. But this is sort of from a homeowner's purchasing perspective. So this survey shows that among baby boomers, trails is the #1 amenity. And so when people our age are choosing to buy homes and looking for a place to relocate or retire, they want to see if the community has a good trail system for them to exercise in their free time. Why did golf courses not make the list? I don't know, I'm not a golfer. But those are important as well. But you can see the open space, the nature, everything that New Hampshire offers are among the highest things that people think about when they're choosing to buy a home. And I love this. This is new information that's just come out this year. It has to do with the connection between building bicycle paths and creating new jobs, which we're all very concerned with. But the Political Economy Research Institute at UMass Amherst has done some research, and they've done 2 studies to this point. One was specifically in Baltimore, and they looked at, it's a very, very extensive survey with different types of road treatments and the different industries that are served by building a bicycle path. And in Baltimore, for every $1 million that was spent, 14 jobs were created. And this is on a bicycle-only construction project. And then if you look at the model in Santa Cruz, California, almost less than half of that was work jobs were created on just the construction for cars and road-only projects. So that's really, really interesting. It's new data. It is data. And we like to combine story with data, but I thought this was really, really telling. So the next study that they followed up with was 58 projects nationwide. You can see the ratio. Still, when you have a bicycle-only project, more jobs are created than if you have a roads-only project. So just something to think about, keep in your hat, and look at it further if you're a skeptical person about data like I am. But I just thought it was an interesting thing to share with you. And then, how many of you are familiar or have been to Denmark, bicycling over there, which is kind of like the international model for bicycle pedestrian-friendly design. But we can learn things. I forget what country this is, but they name their different types of crossings after birds. So they have different treatments that's like a universal descriptor for how to design a crossing based on the type of bird and the type of use that the crossing is going to get. So that is very creative. But what can we learn very simply? These countries are spending more on their bicycling and pedestrian infrastructure, so we can do more to improve the infrastructure related to these modes of travel. And they're also designing for people, not necessarily for cars. So it doesn't exclude the car, but it makes sure that we think about the people that are going to be using the corridor and designing for all of them. And that's a federal highway in the slide right here. This one I got from Larry Kennison, my pet coordinator. Thanks, Larry. Learned about this when he came to the presentation in Cayman. And so there's a direct correlation, as you might imagine, between the amount of money spent and the load share. So if you, kind of a busy slide, but you can see in all cases the U.S. is at the very bottom of every chart in the share of walking trips, the share of bicycle trips, and the funding that's dedicated to those shares. So not surprising, but it's pretty telling. And then, so why is that significant? Well, bicycle commuting is on the rise in the U.S. There's been a 43% increase in the last 10 years in bicycle commuting. Now that's just one user population. Roughly 11% of people in the bicycling community are commuters, and the rest are recreational. But still, what we're seeing a lot is, and I know Greg will speak to this too, is just the separated pathway is now becoming more and more popular with commuters, because if the pathway is paved, they'll be able to get to their destination as quickly as they can or want to, which is really their goal. And it also serves the recreational users, so everyone's included. I think, yeah, this is going to be one of those little. So Boulder, Colorado, who's familiar with Boulder, who's been to Boulder? Anyone? A few of you? So about 20 years ago, I got to ride around Boulder, and it was great back then, it's great now, but it's a national example of how you can measure results, and if you pay attention and put some funding towards the bike-ped community and that mode of transportation. So here, transit is twice the national average. Walking commutes are 3 times the national average, and bike commutes are 18 times the national average. There was a very interesting study done by one of the local nonprofits that tested how long it would take for a person to do their errands, the same list of errands, using a car, using a bike, or going on foot. And so who can just imagine which one do you think was the quickest mode of travel? Not the car, the bike. So the same route, same number of errands, getting around the community was faster on bicycle. And then, Boulder is one of 2 cities in the country that has platinum level bicycle-friendly designation along with Portland, Oregon. So here's some health benefits. Obesity, direct correlation between obesity rates and the amount of transit available to public transportation, bicycle. So you can kind of see that the percent of obesity goes down as the percent of opportunity to bike, walk, or take public transit goes up. No surprise there. It is. And then people with disabilities, we've got these facts. Just people may drive and they may not drive, but definitely the benefits to this population are important with the bicycle and the pedestrian-friendly transportation system. Reduces isolation and helps increase their independence as well. Again, this population, seniors, we are getting older, and we want to be fit. So this population is very well served by complete streets policies and implementation activities. So people want to be active, they want to stay healthy, they want to live longer, and the complete streets approach does help achieve that. And children. I mentioned Matthew, but the overweight, the obesity issue, the Safe Routes to School initiative that GP Red is working on. We're developing pilot programs and coming into community very similar to Safe Routes to School. We have a partnership with the Safe Routes to School national partnership as well as the International Mountain Biking Association. And so we're developing, seeking funding to try to bring that concept of planning and design to communities as well to serve this population and families. So the economics, this is important. You probably know that home values increase when the homes are located near parks and trail systems. So that's no real surprise, but the increase in the value of the home goes from $500 to $3,000 where you have walkability and bikeability approaches. And then capacity, I'm not an engineer, so I don't know where to speak more to this, but in a typical corridor, if you do accommodate all the different uses, you can increase the capacity of the roadway. So the next slide kind of shows you by combining all the different modes, which you have a greater, you serve a greater number of people. And then the last 2 concepts are livable communities. Definitely, this is the term is coming more and more, and the grant funding, the regional planning commission and state government are getting grants to support livable communities. And then the next slide is about sustainability, which has to do with water resources and energy conservation, those types of things. So these applications also support sustainability initiatives that might exist in the community or the state level. So I'm going to turn it now over to Greg, who's an engineer, and I'll let him introduce himself and talk about the engineering.
Thank you, Cindy.